Former OU Vice President faces sexual assault lawsuit, the break-in of a local dispensary, and OU's largest freshman class results in housing issues. This is OU Nightly. Good evening and thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Mariah, Conduff.
And I'm Cal Day. We begin tonight with a breaking news update on the lawsuit against a former OU administrator. Levi Hilliard is suing former Vice President Trip Hall for sexual assault. We've been following this story since May, but new details on the lawsuit have been released.
An amended petition released today states that Hilliard is now suing the state of Oklahoma and the Board of Regents for OU. Hilliard claims the Board of Regents failed to adequately train its employees to report sexual misconduct and take appropriate and reasonable actions to prevent it.
The owner of a medical marijuana dispensary is looking for answers after his shop was broken into last night. The incident occurred at Meds and Wares near I-35 and Lindsay Street. This footage shows two men breaking and entering early this morning on two different occasions. Owner Bomik Rao said the burglars took around $15,000 worth of inventory. Now, despite the damage, the dispensary is open today for business. Rao plans on adding safes and upgrading his security system. If you recognize the men on the screen, call Norman Police.
Formal tropical depression Imelda is bringing serious rain and flooding to southeastern Texas, trapping some people in their homes and cars. Authorities say they've received hundreds of calls for rescues. Camilla Bernal joins us live from Raywood, Texas with the very latest.
Some are making their way to higher ground as southeastern Texas experiences extremely dangerous flooding.
We look at the driveway, if you can't see the road, it's time to go.
It was just rising and rising, and it's been like this for hours.
Others hunkering down and riding out the storm.
We have furniture up on canned goods, on pots, on everything that we can get our hands on. It's going to be okay. It's just a house.
Parts of the area receiving nearly 3 feet of rain since Imelda made landfall on Tuesday, covering roads and trapping people in vehicles and homes. In Vidor, Texas, Michael Stevens says no one can evacuate his apartment complex because the water is too deep.
It's pretty, I'd say, catastrophic. You have cars that are in the apartment complex that are beginning to float. We're cut off from everybody. All the highways and roads are shut down.
In Beaumont, Texas, officials say they've received hundreds of calls for rescues. The National Weather Service and Houston officials telling residents, unless you already have flooding in your house, stay indoors.
I am going to encourage everyone, wherever you are, please stay where you are.
Of Houston remain under a flash flood warning tonight.
Jack Maney joins us with the latest.
That's right. We've got this tropical depression, the remnants of tropical depression Imelda, stalled out just to the north of Houston, and it has been dropping just torrential rains all across the southeastern part of Texas for most of the day today. And rainfall totals from this thing have been just torrential. We've got some reports of over 30 inches of rain falling in some portions of southeastern Texas, especially around the Beaumont area. So, but closer to home, we've got weekend storms possibly coming and cooler temperatures on the way for the rest of the weekend, and I'll have a whole lot more coming up on that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Thanks, Jack. Buildings on the OU campus are stepping up security efforts after recent incidents across the nation. OU Nightly's William Soule tells us what Gaylord College is doing.
Students at Gaylord College are still getting used to the new security. The new card-based system sees the doors at Gaylord lock at 8 p.m. now, a full 4 hours earlier than last year. But as the number of tragic events across the country continues to rise,
unfortunately, there's so much more news, every year about active shooters and, mass shootings.
Some faculty are taking their own steps to keep themselves and their students safe by simply locking the door.
Often that's all it takes is just to possibly, deter someone is a locked door. That a lot of people will move on to an easier target, to put it in very blunt terms.
And as the threats come closer to home, safety is more and more on the minds of students.
Everything that's been happening at other universities and public schools all around, you never know what's going to happen. It's sad that we have to worry about it, but I think it's something that we do have to worry about.
So the next time you roll out of bed late and get locked out of your classroom,
Before you get frustrated, just remember these safety measures are there to keep you and your friends safe. William Soule, OU Nightly.
And you can find the building's hours by visiting the college's website.
And Jackson Wojan is in the news center with the fallout regarding the Prime Minister of Canada today. Jackson.
Thanks, Cal. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke earlier today in regards to an escalating scandal of brownface as new photos and video were released. Trudeau addressed the wrongdoings of his actions that are currently being called into question. Trudeau says it was from a time where this was not considered racist, and in an earlier speech expressed he deeply regrets his actions. This is all surfacing as re-elections are just around the corner. The election is set for October 21st. The Washington Post released a report late Wednesday night about a whistleblower complaint which concerned communications between President Trump and another foreign leader. The complaint was in regards to some sort of promise the president made. Acting Director of National Intelligence and Department of Defense refused to turn the complaint over to Congress, and it is usually required by law. In the weeks leading up to the complaint, the president interacted with 5 different foreign leaders, leaving many to wonder who the promise was made to. Representative Alex Schiff is consulting with the House General Counsel to determine if he will need to take the administration to court in order to obtain an order for the complaint. The United Auto Workers Union is walking picket lines for the 4th day today. Besides the question of wages and benefits, the union is demanding that the 4 U.S. factories set for closure be assigned new projects so that they stay open. General Motors says it continues to negotiate with the workers who are on strike. And a federal judge this afternoon with the Trump campaign's request to halt a California law that would have required the president to release his tax returns. The judge says he'll issue a formal ruling by October 1st. And back to you two at the desk.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson. Well, the university has the largest freshman class in its history. Now the question remains, what will they do about housing? One of the premier student housing communities, the Cottages of Norman, offers students a VIP leasing list. This list allows prospective residents a chance to lock in housing for the 2020 school year.
Secure their housing early. So whenever they come here, they're actually signing a lease, so that way they're securing their spot, and that way they don't have to worry about not having any housing for the next year and next fall and spring.
And the property offers a full set of amenities that include a study lounge with free printing and a complimentary Starbucks coffee machine.
Oklahomans are still getting used to a law that allows some to medicate in a new way. Coming up, we hear from a student who lives with a medical marijuana card holder.
Plus, free college, it could be a reality in one state. We'll tell you where when OU Nightly continues.
With the growing popularity of medical marijuana, many students are becoming card-holding patients. While students living on campus can't possess marijuana due to federal laws, those who live off campus may have to make some adjustments. Sierra Kiega is a senior art student who has medical marijuana card-holding roommate. She says that while she has had to make some changes, it's worth it if her roommate is able to properly medicate.
I really don't care that she smokes, and it doesn't really affect me in any way, but usually I spend a lot more time away from the apartment because I know that she's there quite a lot, and so it doesn't bother me to be around, but I find that I get more done when I'm in the environment outside of my home.
And the University of Oklahoma maintains a strict policy regarding marijuana on campus.
Well, a new plan for higher education in New Mexico could benefit students. Robert McGee joins us now in Money Matters with more.
Thanks, Cal. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham unveils a plan earlier this week. The bill proposes a free ride for all New Mexican residents who graduate high school, including adults returning to a community college. Before this can happen, Grisham needs the legislature to approve up to $35 million in funding when it meets again in January. New York is the only other state to offer something similar. And AT&T may be selling DirecTV. AT&T bought DirecTV in 2015 for $49 billion, but due to debt, that number has risen to about $67 billion. According to the Wall Street Journal, the company is reportedly considering several options, including spinning the unit off or combining its assets with rival Dish Network. The Journal also reports that AT&T may ultimately decide to keep DirecTV in the fold. And Amazon is not just for shopping anymore. You can soon use the retail giant to donate a presidential candidate. Starting next month, owners of the voice-operated assistant Alexa can give to the presidential candidate of their choice. The minimum donation will be $5 and the maximum will be $200. However, this feature will only work if the campaign you choose has signed up to receive donations. Amazon has stated that candidates will be able to sign up for donations starting today. That's all for Money Matters today. Back to you at the desk, Mariah.
Thanks, Robert. Tropical Depression Imelda is leaving a mark on southern Texas. Coming up, it's not just flooding that residents are dealing with.
But it's all sunny skies in our part of the country. Jack Maney is checking chances for rain, though.
That's right. We're going to be tracking Imelda, talking about weekend storms and cooler temperatures coming up next. And welcome back to OU Nightly. We're so glad we have you with us on this Thursday. We're looking right now at tornado video coming out of South Texas. This is a tornado that was spawned off of one of the rain bands that's left over from Tropical Depression Imelda. These tornadoes, they can spin up very quickly out of these tropical systems, especially when they sit down and they just don't move. You can get lots and lots of tornadoes out of these systems. You know, if we can take it over to weather, and right now we're looking outside at our skyline cam, and it is beautiful outside, 87 degrees, just a little bit toasty across the state. It's very, very warm outside, but not quite hot. I think we're pretty much done with that for most of the rest of the year. And so right now, though, the big story is what's happening down in Texas with Imelda. The low pressure center has been just sitting there north of Houston for the last day or so, dropping torrential rains and tornadoes throughout the southeastern Texas. Some of these rain totals have been just astronomical, 30 inches in some places reported, and that's going to keep going for the rest of today. So what does that mean for us, though? Imelda's been kind of stuck in this weak steering flow. There's not a whole lot of wind in the upper levels to really push it anywhere, and that means it's just walking slowly to the north, and we could possibly see some moisture out of the remains of Imelda. It won't be anything like they're seeing down south. But over the next few days, rain chances do start to increase. We've got possible scattered storms around pretty much every day for the rest of the weekend. It's going to be very, very warm again, but temperatures are decreasing slowly. Over the next couple of days, we're going to see storm chances, low-end storm chances, scattered storms every single day, all the way through to the end of next week. And it's going to be slowly cooling off towards the end of next week. It looks like summer might be starting to kind of move its way out of here, but we still got just a little bit of ways to go before we really get to fall.
Well, finally.
Yeah,
I'm tired of
that's
it.
music to my ears, Jack.
I think we're all just about ready for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jack. Well, the nation's capital is unveiling a new statue as part of a new initiative to introduce new artwork. A statue of Standing Bear, the Ponca Chief, now stands tall in Washington. 2 statues are on display throughout the building with ties to each state. This one represents Nebraska, though Standing Bear had strong ties to the Sooner State as well. Oklahoma Congressman Tom Cole was in attendance for the unveiling.
All too often, the first Americans have been the last Americans in American history. This starts to correct that.
Standing Bear joins the statues of Will Rogers and Sequoia from Oklahoma at the nation's capital. And week 3 of the NFL season kicks off tonight as the Jags host the Titans.
Zach Verdea is here with sports.
Another Thursday night football tonight, and the Jags and Gardner Minshew take on Mariota and the Titans. And all the rage this season has been the OU defense. How defensive backs have turned it around so far this year. Sports is around the corner. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Zach Verdea, and it's time for sports. The OU football team is on a bye this week, But so many defensive questions before the season began, Parnell Motley has exceeded expectations. Through 3 games, he has allowed an eye-popping .07 yards per covered snap to lead the FBS. With Motley holding down the fort on one side, other DBs are following suit. Last season, the Sooners had 6 total interceptions. They already have 4 so far. Freshman corner Jaden Davis picked off one against South Dakota. Sophomore Brendan Radley-Hiles took one back to the house in the same game. And team leader in pass deflections last season, Trey Brown, finally got his hands on one at UCLA.
We're going to handle that, but it feels really good to go up there and challenge a receiver and let them know that wherever you go, I'm going to go, you know what I'm saying? So you can't have that much space to make a play, and that's what we're going to continue to do, is be up in the receiver's face.
In other DB news, Jalen Ramsey is expected to play tonight in Jacksonville. The disgruntled star will suit up as the Jaguars host the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football. There are reportedly at least 6 teams that have seriously inquired about the All-Pro corner. The Sooner basketball teams released their schedule for the upcoming season. Here's what a look at upcoming. Lon Kruger and the boys will open up this season at home November 5th against UTSA. On January 4th, they kickstart Big 12 play as they host Kansas State. 10 days later, they face the Jayhawks as they come to Lloyd Noble, and the Sooners get their first crack at the Pokes to kick off February. The women will open up November 8th against Prairie View A&M in Norman. The powerhouse UConn Huskies visit Lloyd Noble at the end of December. Big 12 play will begin for them in January against Baylor, and they hit the road to head up to Stillwater January 8th to take on the Pokes. And with all the panic over USA basketball lately, Sports Illustrated released their all-decade team. No surprise, but LeBron James tops the list for best in the 2010s. He was named an All-Star 10 times in that decade. That's every single year. James also won 3 titles, 3 MVPs in that stretch. The 34-year-old is joined by Steph Curry, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Kevin Durant on the first team. And something most people can relate to, needing a little extra money in college. Iowa State fan Carson King took a college game day sign with his Venmo username asking for help to replenish his beer supply, and that's when the money started flowing in. Once his account reached $600, King had an idea. He would buy 1 case of Busch Light for himself, and he would donate the rest of the money to the University of Iowa Stead Families Children's Hospital. His rival school has a new tradition of having fans wave to childhood cancer patients at the hospital next door, and that is when Busch and Venmo stepped in and offered to match the donation total. As of this morning, he has over $41,000 in his Venmo account. And Cal and Mariah, I don't know about you guys, but that is just an incredible story when you take into all, he's an Iowa State fan, raising all this money, and now giving it to his rival school.
Yeah, the Iowa wave is one of my most favorite traditions in college football. You know, when everybody turns around and everybody's waving.
Yeah, there's the turnover chant. There's all these great things, but nothing really beats.
That's the power
of
a college game day sign.
It sure is.
Awesome.
Thanks, Zach. Here they come. Up next, why big crowds are showing up in Nevada.
Stick around. The reason might just be out of this world.
I'm Shannon Ehrhardt, the OU Nightly Update Desk. The Oklahoma Cooperation Commission reached an agreement with the largest Oklahoma gas and electrical company in the state. The agreement settles a $78 million rate increase request, which was denied by Attorney General Mike Hunter. Hunter requests that the utility company should reduce rates by $32 million instead of raising them. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Shannon. Big crowds are showing up to Nevada after a social media campaign could be turning into a reality.
Now, the plan to raid Area 51 started as a joke, but before you know it, 2 million people on Facebook said they were going to go, and now they're actually starting to show up. So things are getting pretty interesting there in Nevada.
That's insane.
And Jack, if you're going to be heading out to Nevada today, looks like pretty nice weather.
Yeah,
huh?
The weather's actually starting to look just a little bit less terrible all the time. We're starting that downhill slope towards fall at the moment. We got rain chances every single day, not a whole lot of, it's not going to be a total washout for you out there. You can still get in plenty of outdoor plans this weekend. But it could be, just in case, bring an umbrella just in case things decide to turn south. You know how they tend to do at the State Fair.
All right. Looks really good. Thank you, Jack.
All right.
And we were talking in the commercial break about the power of Venmo and what it can do for people. So I just want to go ahead and put this up right now for everybody who's wanting to help out a college student.
But no, take advantage, strike while the iron's hot.
Might as well.
Really?
Sneak on in there. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night.
Be sure to tune back in tomorrow night at 4:30.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.